Yes, hello, and welcome to the IrisBG webinar on April 2018, April the 5th, with Greg Payton from the Dawes Arboretum and Havard from IrisBG. Today, this is another workshop or webinar, sorry, where we're going to just go through a number of questions we have received. Just take them in the order of yeah, it doesn't matter which order. I think we'll just take them one after the other and hope that we can go through them. If you have any questions yourself, feel free to either use your microphone or use the chat function that you should find on the toolbar somewhere. Yeah, we'll take it from there. Maybe Greg should say hello first before we start.
I was just swallowing some coffee, but hello.
Yeah. So Greg is plant recorder and GIS expert at the Dawes Arboretum in Ohio. If you wonder where that is, then you can go to our website, irisbg.com, and look there, or go to the dawesarboretum.org, dawesarb.org. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you're out of the country, if you know anything about the states. The Midwest, you know, the Great Lakes. We're south of the Great Lakes in the state of Ohio, right about smack dab in the center of the state. So,
yeah, okay. Let's be more specific. If you go to our website, you can have the map of all our customers or users, and then you have to scroll in here to Ohio.
Yep.
That's the Dawes Arboretum. So that's where he's sitting. Okay. Great.
I can see. I can see my house from here.
Yeah. What do you have in your coffee? I wonder sometimes. Yeah. Okay. So first question of the day was about the IrisBG batch jobs. So that's for those who don't know that. If I go to our website again, we have a few sort of free tools you could use. Hold on, I'm just gonna. Go back to our page here, support and downloads, and then there are a few software tools you can download. One of them is IrisBG Batch Jobs, which is a software to upload to Garden Explorer or import data, etc. So you can schedule that. And the question was whether it's possible to configure a job that automatically import coordinates from ArcGIS online maps. So technically, maybe I haven't even looked into this, because what I would more like to sort of stress that we're working now with Esri and Brian to come with a new update to this tool here, Esri ArcGIS IrisBG Sync, which will where we also will try to facilitate the possibility to update data both ways. So you can pull data from Iris, but also push data back into Iris. So more details about that. Our hope is to have this ready before conference in later this year. So basically before June. That's what we're working towards. So I think I'll leave it at that, and then to get to the question about ArcGIS online maps is a bit more cumbersome, I think, because it's typically a bit sealed. But for this sync product is for ArcGIS or ArcMap that you have installed on your desktop. So, anyway, that's the story there. This second, I don't know. Yeah, we'll move on unless anybody wants to say anything or comment anything extra here. Okay, so. The second question was the IrisBG X Microsoft add-ins. So that's another thing. For those who don't know that, there is add-ins that you can download from the same page here. They are tools. You get a toolbar in Excel or in Microsoft Word. And I can show you a bit more. If I go here, then after you've installed it, you will have a few things here that helps you to prepare, typically for data import. That's the most important part. And the question was the field names used for data import, and are they available here in the tool? And the answer is no, but that's a good idea. So we'll look into that so that you can check your import template with the names, compatible names for the import. Yeah, so that's, yeah, we'll look into that. That's a good point. Sorry?
I said that's a very good idea, yes.
Yep. And then the question was, can you demonstrate how to use this particular tool? I could do a few things. I mean, so one thing is this split taxon name. Sometimes I could spend a few minutes on it. If you get data from some other source where you have lots of scientific names, something like that, and Quercus, Ruber, var, yeah, for example, something else or something. So obviously, as you may know, Iris will want to have this split into separate columns so that it can distinguish the different parts of the taxon name. So this particular thing here will try to split it for you, so you get genus, species, infotype name like that. And it's a bit clever. You saw it managed to put a punctuation in there and stuff. So that's the kind of tool you have. And one thing that people also struggle a bit when they import is that Iris want cultivar names to be quoted. So if you have then an import file with and irritating enough when you work in Excel, you need to actually put 2 quotes to get it quoted, which is a bit tiresome as well. So this particular tool will make sure all those cultivars are quoted like this. So yeah, for example, so that's all that kind of stuff. Yeah, there is one thing to note to this name of field names. If you go back here and to the download page, with the data import template is recently been updated. So that has a bit, if I open this up now, so you will see, it has the field names that you have to pick from here are updated. So you could use that until we update the actual plugin. So you get all the field names here, and also much more, this general list is also much more comprehensive now than it was if you have used this template before. Yeah. Okay. Any questions or comments? No? There were a few things I didn't do here, but that one, ready for import, I just want to mention that because that can be quite important. When you import data to Iris, if you have formulas in your spreadsheet, Iris will not necessarily manage that. Only basic formulas are supported. So if you use this one, you can be sure that the file can be imported without problems in terms of the formula question. So that's something, yeah. And this tag to italic is related to reports that if you want to have the scientific name written in italics and non-italics, then that will do that for you. And these 2 other ones are some extra tools to help you deal with reporting. There's more details. If you go and look here under here, you get more explanations about what the different things can do for you. So yeah. Okay. Then let's move on. So there was another question regarding maintenance tasks. Are there any maintenance tasks in Iris that you need to be aware of? So you buy the software, you start using it, and then some software, or like most things in life, need a bit of TLC once in a while, like your car need a service and stuff like that. Is there anything I need to think about in terms of Iris? There is a few things that you might want to look at sometimes. And that is, if I go down here, I can show you, it's under the quite self-descriptive section called maintenance. And this is the one part where you might want to do something under certain conditions. There are, if you make, because the way it's structured, if you make sort of big changes in the taxonomic groups, let's say move genera to different families and things like that, then you need to run this particular update too, because the way it's all linked up. That's the only thing you need to consider there. All the other things, if you make changes to the accession number format, that you can do here. If I go to management, collections, and then you have your format here, and you want to, for example, have accession number with leading or with zeros, you would do something like this. Oops, I think this is the correct way to do it. So you will have 4 zeros. That's look in the help file if you want to know more about that. If you make those changes, you need to then let the system, reformat all the numbers. So that's the kind of maintenance you need to do. But most of the time you don't need to think about this. Sorry, I'm just going to cancel. And that goes for most other things as well. Images, here's a possibility to reduce the size of the images. So that's just, so basically, if there are any things you need to do and you get in touch with this, we will let you know that you should go and use this, do this maintenance task. But in general, you don't really need to go in there. There was also a question here about what happens in terms of people being logged in and everything like that. There's no need to. I mean, if you're going to do a full renumbering of all the accessions, I would recommend you do that when people are logged off, because if they, you might as well, but technically it shouldn't be a big problem. So in general, when you run these jobs, yes, especially if you're going to do the full update of the taxonomic groups and things like that. I think there's nothing more to say there. I don't know if you have any other things, Greg.
No, that's a very good explanation. So in short, basically, there's really nothing that needs to be done there unless you've made some major changes to the system and you want to recalculate some fields that are already produced automatically when the data was added.
Yep.
So just update those fields that were set.
Some of these things here are here for us to be able to, if we need to help a garden in terms of a data transfer or something, or make some changes through other means, then we might need to run this thing to sort of make everything, to tidy up everything after we've done other things. So it's more like a toolbox for us as well when we help or assist clients with things. But the question also when it comes data from mobile, are there anything you'd have to worry about? No, not really. So all the changes from the synchronizer will come into the inbox here, and you will look at them before you accept them in. So that's sort of also quite painless in terms of maintenance. Nothing to worry about in that respect.
And just as a tip, I mean, even if I'm out all day inventorying plants, mapping plants with the mobile software, and I download the information, instead of just accepting all at once, I still, even though I made all the changes, I still go through them one by one, click on and accept each entry individually, just as an extra double check. Because there could have been something that I thought about when I saw that accession. It's like, oh, I wanted to change that, and then that jogs my, and I didn't make a note, for example. It makes me think, oh, I need to go in and update that now too. So it's just an extra check that I do. So.
Yep.
Then it shows you there as you click on one of those rows, it'll show you the changes in yellow. As opposed to what the record was previously. So it makes it very easy to tell what the changes are.
Yep. Another question we have was change history. Can you see, are there any sort of tracking of who's made changes to the records? And yes, to a certain degree. I think the best thing would be if I just bring up an accession here I'm just doing 2010 or something. when you look at an accession record, there are a few things to note. If I make this a bit bigger so you can all see it. The first thing that is standard with Iris all the way is down here in the right corner. You will see who made the last changes and when. And this is displayed in European dates, but if you're running an American setup, you will see it in American dates. Then there are a few other things. If I scroll down a bit further, you will also see who initially recorded this particular record down here on the accession. So it depends a bit on what kind of data you look at. And then there are other places where things are generated automatically, like here, the determination history is automatically populated as people are making changes, so you can see who made those changes as well. And this is, yeah, and the same goes for plants. Let's see if I can get something with a bit of history. Maybe I should, sorry, take an older accession from 1960 or something. Do we have anything from 60? 66, I seem to remember. I don't know why I remember that, but yeah, that was suddenly many. Good. So here we got a bit of history. And then, of course, you will be able to see a bit more detail about that as well down here. Yeah.
If I could interrupt you real quick, those little icons you have next to the item types there, I thought you said that, is there some place to download those? You had...
oh, yeah, those things. I will download. I'll put that up after the. I'll put them on the forum after the meeting. Yeah. Okay,
because some of those are certainly better than the ones that I created, so I might want to incorporate a few of those into my system.
Oh, thank you, sir. That's a great compliment.
Very nice.
Yeah. It's quite funny how fiddly it is to get it to look a bit nice on that sort of small format. But yeah, no, that's.
Instructions. It's not too hard to figure out, Christina. You just go to the item type definitions and you can.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, let's digress. But that's I've made a few here. Seed propagation with a small pot and so forth. They can, if you want to change those, you could do that in definitions, and then
the dried plant. That's nice. The brown leaf.
Yeah. Here we go. You go in here, and then you just click right-click, and then you click load, and then you upload the file. Yeah.
Very easy.
Yeah. It's a brown sheet that you see. Yeah.
I actually made for the DNA samples that I added. I actually found a little graphic of the double helix strand that I found and stuck in there. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. No, well, please upload yours and stuff as well. Okay. We can. Yeah. Cool. So anyway, here we could see then who made changes to what, and you see when I click here now on this entry, you can see details here about who made those changes. And then if I go one step down, you get that this was, unfortunately, this is changed by admin all the time, so it's a bit, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we have, still at Dawes, I tend to make 99% of the changes, but we do have some other staff that do a few things, especially our conservation staff. When they're accessioning seeds, they will do their own, so I'll see a few other names, but in general, it's just mostly my initials, but at least I can look back to the date that it was changed and see that.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool. The one thing to add to all this is that when you use the system, you can also use this data to find things. So if you do advanced search, and on the accession screen, for example, you can search for entries changed by a certain user within a certain time frame. That can be also quite handy to if you, for example, have new staff or you want to go through things that someone has made, or you come back on Monday and think, oh, what did I do on Friday? Then you can do that, use that feature to find the records you made changes to.
Yeah,
that's quite handy.
You can audit changes that were made by a certain volunteer or staff member in a certain time range. If you're home on Saturday and you think, oh, that record that I changed, I should update that. You can go back to the changes that you made Friday, just like he says, and see what edits you made and realize, okay, that's the one that I had to fix.
Yeah. Then there was a question regarding coordinates and data transfers, etc., and whether lat and long will be if you have data recorded in degrees, minutes, seconds, etc. So in general, when it comes to locality information, if I can go, I can just do that here. When you record localities, you can record them in a number of different formats. So these degrees, minutes, seconds, degrees, minutes, etc., and decimal degrees. And if I show you one example here, hopefully, yeah, Cameroon. So this one is recorded as such, and then it will be retained as such. But we also have a copy then of the converted lat long in decimal degrees, which is sort of the most commonly used format, and that's sort of the base format, you could say, in IRIS. So the coordinates will be retained in the format that it was recorded originally, provided it is one of those, I should say 6 formats, if you can call unknown as a 6th format. So we'll then try to retain whatever was punched in, even though it doesn't make sense to us. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. And then there was another question as well. Just a bit uncertain about this, about sources, and I mean, when it comes in general, I think when it comes to data transfers, we try to get all the data over. That's the short version of the answer to these kind of questions. If it doesn't fit into IRIS directly, then we have the benefit of you being able to use custom attributes. I'm just going to explain that for those who aren't familiar with that. So we have custom fields that we can add to accessions and to taxa. That gives you a lot of flexibility to record all kinds of things. There was a question here about, for example, price. There's no field for price recordings in IRIS, but then adding a column here for price is very easy. It's already here on this particular database. So that's very easy. The other thing we have as well are tasks, which also sometimes can be used instead of custom fields, which is sort of a layer on top of the existing data. So if you, for example, have a field, some systems may have a specific field to record. I can't think of any example, but maybe that's only recorded like 10 times over 20,000 records. Instead of having a custom field for it, it might actually be smarter just to have a task with a list of all those plants related to that particular thing. That sometimes can be a better way to organize the data. But the most important thing is we try to get all the data over in one way or another. So yeah, okay. I hope that was okay answer to that question. Yeah. So and then questions about benches and trees and etc. and funding and how can you combine this? And the answer is very much so, absolutely. So for those of you who aren't familiar with that, the funding part is down here, and that's to basically record things like memorial trees and other things that sponsored things in the garden. And I can go through that quickly, how you do with that. So let's say we got a bench, a nice bench that we have bought for the purpose, or we have a bench that someone has sponsored. We would then add that bench in management assets. So we have in this particular database a few things. We have benches already. So we just can then go in here and say new bench near pond or something. And then these benches will also then have a symbology that you can work on in this particular list here of different types of things, different types of assets. You manage down in definitions. I'll quickly show you that as well. And then I can go in here and say where the bench is. So I gamble that I have a pond in this garden. I suddenly realize that I may not have one. I think I do. If I do, let's see. Sorry about this. I'm just thought I had another map, ArcGIS maps. That was here. We go. Yeah, there's a sort of a little pond down here, so that's where we put it. Yeah. Okay. So now we have this. But would you put anything here, Greg, in terms of when you deal with? Would you put something like here regarding?
I generally add it to the comments of the the item once it's added to the. Yeah,
let's do that. But it could be a small C funding. I don't know. We'll do it like this. Then, if we then got funding for this, we will go in here and clear to record a new registration, and then we will say, okay, this is memorial bench and or something. You might have a special type for this. Do we have that memorial? Yeah, cool. That's great. And in description, this is where you put your memorial text, isn't it, Greg?
I do a little bit differently. The name I set is the person that it's in memory of, last name, first name, because the contact usually is somebody that has donated money for that person. So to be, Ronson, Ronnie, whatever, and then down there it'll. I mean, I've done different things. It'll have, just some text about what they did or something like that. And then once you add the entry for the bench under that comments, I'll wait for you to catch up here. Yeah,
I was just thinking, shall I go? Well, this person who's actually given the money. That's nice. Then you can have contact details, address and stuff, so you can keep in touch with this person. So I'm just going to take something here. Michael Dossman. We should use someone else, I think, in this case. Doesn't matter. We'll create a new one. So Greg Payton. He's our donor. We'll put phone numbers and emails so we can send him information. And then we received $2,000, for example. And then here you you say, okay, I'm going to add the asset. And then you find the asset, which is in this case the bench that we added. You can add the bench here, so you don't. I could have now started to add the bench, so I went through the management asset screen directly, but you can do it this way as well. So we got the bench, and then we also want to add a tree that was also sponsored. Just going to say it's an Acer. I think we need an Acer for this. Take this one from 2008. And here we have it. Greg, you.
Okay. But there on the items under comments, that's where I'll put in memory of Ronnie Ronson, 2018, or whatever the text would say on the label that is on the bench or on the tree, or both. Comma 2018, something like that. Yeah, or next year. Something else that's good to do too. Okay, say this Acer platanoides has died, and now you put it on a new tree. I will change, and after you're done, you would have your record set to completed. No, I'll just actually close that first and go back and.
Okay, So if I save this now, hold on, get rid of this. Okay. And now, should I just do this because now we're good?
It's all been labeled and installed. Everything is done. So you can search for the ones that haven't been done yet and no. Okay, now the Acer has died. So you can mark it as excluded, either before or after. Now save it. And then go back in and add a new Acer, because Ronnie liked his maples.
Yeah.
And it's nearby. It's say for example, I don't know.
This one. Yeah, we'll make sure I take another one. Yeah, here we go.
And you set it to completed. You save it, and that's the current tree. So you have history of what previous trees were labeled for Ronnie. So when Greg Payton comes back in and asks, "Where's this Acer platinoides?" you can say, pull up the record and say, "Well, that one died, and now this Acer izuense has been labeled instead." So.
Yep.
But ideally, you would have, maybe called me up and told me that the tree died and asked me which tree should be labeled instead. But that's your policy, so that's up to you.
But the final thing here is to say that the nice thing of putting this comment here is that when you look at this accession at some later point, which I can bring up here, that was If you think about you accidentally come and look at this particular izuensis and look at it, and then you see there's something references. What's that? Then you see here that it's the funding, and then you can get.
The item number 3 is the one that's labeled for Ronnie.
Yep.
So if you look at there.
Maybe we should also stress that this is fictitious data. We don't know if Ronnie Ronson is.
Real.
We have no information about. Can neither confirm or let's move on. Okay, so that's
adding images to it as well. So right there on those those entry lines, you can add an image of the bench with the label installed. You can have a picture of the tree with the post label standing in front of it. So that if in the future, which is something I've been asking for a while, yes, only one image. But if this could be pushed out to the website, so Greg Payton could get on and search for, Ronnie Ronson and find out which tree is labeled for him.
Yep, that's.
We've talked about over the years would be a nice upgrade to the website.
Yeah. We had some people who were very keen on it, and then they completely detoured and got problematic. It all got very problematic with data protection because suddenly you have all these names out there on the website with who sponsored and who died and all that. So they got a bit nervous. So we're on the bit of. I was going to say we're on the bench about this a bit, but or the fence.
Only what I do is every few months, if there's been a number of additions, I produce an Excel file as a report of the fundings, and then that is kept on the cloud, and then the visitor center staff can just pull that down and access it to find the accession number of which plant is labeled for Mr. Ronson.
Yeah. Okay, great. The image here is related to the actual funding entry, not to the bench itself. So I would recommend if you want to have a picture of the bench, that you might be better off adding that picture here on the bench here. That's a bit confusing maybe, but...
to answer Christina, there is more than one image possible. You can have just an image of the bench, and then maybe you can have a blow-up of the label on the bench or something. That's one that's the item.
Yeah, exactly. So here you might have the whole bench, and down here you might have a picture of the actual inscription or something, if that's relevant. Okay.
Yep.
Great. Let's go on. So we have lots of questions, as you may have noticed, and that's good. It's a bit of a confusion that comes once in a while about the term collection in Iris. What is that used? So when you see this management collections, many people, rightly so, might think this is related to plant collections, but it is actually collection sites. So it's gardens or different gardens. So most systems are set up with only one site, one collection site. A few others, if you have gardens managed, owned by one institution that are in different locations with different staff and different accessions, etc., then you typically will set it up with several collections. So there's an article on our blog about that if you want to know more. But in the trial version, you have a few of those kind of collections set up, so you can play around with it and add your own garden if you want to try things out.
Yeah, but Dawes, for example, is the main grounds where we have most of our plant collections is almost 500 acres, and it's all just collection. But if we were to have an off-site, like maybe we had a secondary garden in Columbus or something, and I wanted to maintain it with maybe a different accession system, different ways of categorizing items and things like that, I could set up a different collection.
Yeah, and different users as well. You can then also have different access to the different collections, which is quite handy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, like for example, it's close to me, but the Holden Arboretum where I used to work years back, maybe 23 years ago, recently acquired the Cleveland Botanical Garden in downtown Cleveland. So they basically have two major collections. So that would be something where they could set that up with two collections, even though they're not presently using Iris, but they've expressed interest in the past. So we'll see.
Yep. So yeah, the most extreme example to date, I suppose, is National Trust here in the UK, where they have 340 historic sites, I think, thereabouts. So that's managed within Iris in that way. Yeah. Okay. Collection. Yeah, and then we already talked a bit about that. Recording price. Where do you do that? Well, you don't. There's not a dedicated field for it, but it is a possibility to add a custom field, so you can type in the price on the accession. When you
the issue is that's accession based and that's not item based. So if you had 5 items in 5 different sizes, you wouldn't be able to say which item was which price. Do that probably in a task entry or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. So depending on what you want to, why would you like? I mean, maybe you just put the total for those 5 because they are accessioned as one accession because you bought them. Normally, one accession would be the same genetic material, but anyway, you
had items for like a plant sale or something, and you were selling items that you had.
Sale price. Yeah, then it becomes a bit different. Yeah. And if you want to know, this particular field has a nice format with a dollar sign and stuff, or pound or euro or whatever you want. You can, in the definitions on the custom attributes, you can here set the format like that. So there's some tricks to sort of make that look nice as well. Yeah. Great. Yeah, there's I'm just going to see. Great. Yeah. Got a bit confused here. Sorry. Accession type. So I think we've talked on that before, but we can repeat that again. That's sort of a field that is a bit mysterious for a lot of people. It is here very prominently listed, and it's a way gardens can use to group their accessions one way or another. I know the trial version has. This is a bit muddled up now.
Modified things, yeah.
Maybe I should tidy up that a bit quickly. Let's see, management. Hold on. Code lists. I hope I can just delete that. I just delete it. Yeah. It will stop me from deleting things that are already in use. So, It didn't like that. So that was a shame. Okay. That one I need to then get rid of. sorry, I'm just going to see if I can tidy that away. So now you can see if I then find that record that has this. No, there's nothing. That's interesting. Oh, never mind. Anyway, you in the trial version, they are used to as an example where a botanic garden is sort of managed by 3 head gardeners. One is in charge of the arboretum, one for the rock garden, and one for the systematic garden. And then each accession is sort of tagged with that category when they get accessions from the day one, so that people can see which head gardener is in charge of it. But you can use it for all other types of things. It's basically very handy because it is available in the search screen. It's very prominent. You can even put it on nursery labels and things like that.
I do slightly different. I have mine set up so that let me scroll back up here on mine so I can look at them. But I have them basically for collection. So if it's part of our plant collection, for development, like say it's a test plant or a cultivar we are growing to see if it's worthy of incorporating into a collection. If it's for display only, like maybe it's just some random taxus and stuff for a garden that nobody cares about. If it's intended for a distribution, like for plant sales and things like that, or if it's an accession entirely done for a voucher, so sowing herbarium related. Those are my types that I presently use.
Yep. That's quite a normal thing as well, to use it more like what's the purpose of this plant material, almost like that. Right. Yeah. I just saw that was an email from. Okay, cool. Then let's go to the next one. Number of specimens. Yeah, this the fields under here when you receive material. Under material here, and then number of specimens. I'm not sure what the question is. You can record anything you like here. That's maybe the question. Yeah. So it could be that you got a group of bulbs, you don't want to count them, so you say, okay, we got bulbs, lots of it. You know, I think they will accept that, even though I need to then, of course, record some immediately. Yeah.
All that's required of an accession is a name and a provenance.
Yeah.
Everything else is good to have, but it's not necessary.
Yeah. So I think in general, a lot of don't be shy and just try things out when you're uncertain about these things. It's quite easy to. The system will typically stop you, and it will, you know, it's quite stable and robust, and will let you know if you're doing something, you know, very wrong. So don't be afraid. Okay.
You know, we get packs of seeds in from index seminum sources, something like that, and it might have, you know, like a rhododendron seeds, and there could be, you know, they're like dust, and there could be 1,000 of them in there, and I don't, you know, dump them out and use a pin to count each one. I'll just say it's like in a PKT packet, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or a bag, small bag. Okay.
All right.
I mean, sometimes you want to just convey information. It's sort of the level of detail is you decide that it based on how you're going to use the data later. Yeah. Okay. Then there was a question about how the data upload from the handheld will work. I'm not sure how to address that. I mean, we talked about this a bit earlier today. That you basically load the data through the inbox, and you look at them and accept them or not. That's just a simple version of the answer, I suppose.
Right. You know what I do, just as a quick overview, I've been out in the field with my Trimble unit that I have. I plug it into the USB port into the computer. I click the synchronize button. You have to click clear first before you can open synchronize. But then you select go ahead.
I don't think it will work on this one. I don't have the I don't have it set up like that. Right. Yeah.
But anyway, it'll open up a button to select to download changes into the inbox. It scans through the unit, finds everything that you've updated in the field, provides you a list there of your inbox items, of all the items that have had changes. Click on each one as you go and accept the changes, and then all the records are then synchronized onto the system. And it's an offline system, which means you don't have to have a data connection. You're making changes out in the field, and you're getting closer to an Android. Yeah. Well, I'm sure that will be mentioned, but yeah. But all the changes are offline, and then are just updated once you incorporate them via this method here.
Yep. The one thing also that was asked about was the when you record plants or items, and the way. I think this is quite a common mistake that people make. In that, let's bring up an existing plant just quickly here. Existing accession. Just taking something random here. Let's say I want to make changes to this one. But well, it needs to have some item information here. And I'm going to take an old one. Sorry about this. I'm just going to have so that we have some sort of thing here. Excuse me about clicking around a bit here. So if I wanted to update the details about this particular plant, and we have just checked it and it looks nice, for example, or we moved it. Let's say we moved it. New users might be tempted to see here the history, and you want to think, okay, I'm going to add a new history. So you go here and click add, or try to. But the way it works is that you have to go and look at the existing entry and make the changes directly here. So we're going to say we moved it today in April, and then we can also then say we moved it to the new bed here. And then when you save it, the history will be automatically updated that way. So that's important. The only reason for going down here and make changes to the entries here is if there are some historic data missing that you want to add that retrospectively.
Right.
So,
in fact, because I didn't have history on my previous system that I used, I would keep notes about where the plant was, and that's where I would go back in and add history about where the plant was originally planted, and then the date that it was moved. And that, that's really a valid reason to history if it's information wasn't provided originally.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So that, I think, was the last question we had from the sort of, what shall I say, premeditated questions, if that's the word I can use. Hopefully I answered those questions. There was a question here, are we getting closer to the Android iPad version? Yes, we are. I can show you a few things just for fun at the end here today, if you give me a second. A lot of the work on the handheld is sort of is completed, or yeah, we're very near. So the first release will focus on updating accessions and items. This is now running on an Android, as you can see here. If I go in, this is just a sample data set. So you task and inspections will come after the summer. The focus is just to be able to work on the plants itself or the accessions in your garden. And then I could search for things here, like if I start typing, and then you get the nice thing here with the more powerful units. We can do things like this. We can bring up the existing taxa, so you don't have to memorize the spelling. And so if I then click there, it's a cool feature here to search for plants near me. So when you're out in the garden, you can take anything within a distance. And there's some more things you can use to search for, like family or genus, etc. So when I search for this, you get a list here, 13 of those. And then you will then see the map as well where these 13 are in the garden. So I can zoom in with my fingers here now and look. When I click on this one, I get the details down here on the bottom. And then I can see the map, the accession numbers and the plants, the scientific name. The orange markers are areas, so they are plants that don't have an exact coordinate. And then I can open one of these and start making changes to that particular record. So you see here I'm now the details. So the accession with all the plants, there are 4 items to this one. And then I can go to number 3 here and make changes like, okay, say that it's dead or something. And yeah. And then with the mapping, again, you can then move that plant. Let's say it was incorrect mapped. So I can just put it in a new place like that. And then take pictures. So that's the sort of basic features that will come out. We're aiming to get this ready before June, before the ABGA and the user conference in May. So we'll keep you posted. Yeah.
That's Android.
That's Android. So we are developing it parallel and testing it on iOS, but because of the pressure we have to get it out, we just have to focus on the Android because that's sort of where most people are keen. We will get it on iOS as well, but whether that will happen before or when it will be released on iOS, I'm not sure. It's also much more cumbersome to actually get things sort of processed through the iOS iTunes platform. So and it will work on iPads as well as on the iPhone, and the same with Android tablets. The whole layout is the primary thing now in version 1 is to make it look nice and good on the smartphone, because that's sort of the most difficult part. So it will scale up probably, but we won't early on have sort of optimized it to work on an iPhone, no iPad, or in terms of using up the real estate optimally. So if you get my point here, sort of like the details here, this will just be a bit bigger. But when you work on mapping, for example, it's nice to have a bigger screen, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's was a quick sort of quick update on that type of work. It's great fun. Look forward to getting this out. It's going to be great.
Yeah, the question now from Christina is there any extra cost for this, or is it just the same as the standard mobile that you have now? We are 90. Yeah, I think it will be very similar at least. So because we need to have some infrastructure in place to get this whole thing to work, because you're going to work on 3G and stuff. But it won't be very different. If it will be different, it will be in a similar price point. So, and the nice cool thing here is that this will be, the software itself will be, you can try before you buy, as it were. We will make it available with some test data sets, so you can download it from the Play Store without having to purchase it. And then it's only when you start synchronizing that you have to get the license. So, yeah. Okay. Yeah, look forward to that. I think we've sort of basically are 1 minute away from 4 o'clock, or whatever time zone you're in, the next hour. Unless you have any final questions or late questions. No? Good. The next webinar will be then on May the 3rd. Yep. Right.
So thank you everybody for coming, and thanks for all the great questions, and look forward to seeing you there. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all.